Sí, buenos días. Buenos días. Comenzamos entonces nuestro tercer webinario, hoy dedicado a los acuerdos
We are starting
públicos y
our third
comunitarios,
webinar
a los procesos de
dedicated to the
participación
communitarian and public
ciudadana y
agreements, to the
comunitaria en defensa
participation
de la gestión del agua,
processes
en defensa del
in
agua
the
como bien común, en
defense of
defensa
the
del agua
water management
como
and the
derecho
water as a
humano
common good,
fundamental.
as
Nos
a
acompaña
fundamental
un
human
grupo
right.
de personas
We have
muy
here a group of
significativas, ellas
people
todas,
that are
porque
very
están
important,
haciendo
and all of them,
parte
because they
protagónica de
are
procesos de
part now,
resistencia
they are
creativa
protagonists of
ante
resistance
estas formas
movements,
de
of creative
privatización,
resistance movements
tanto del
to
acceso y
face
suministro de
these
agua
different
como
privatization
servicio público y fin pues del
processes,
Estado,
not only
como desde
public
la gestión
services,
comunitaria del agua realizada
but
por
also as
comunidades
the
organizadas.
communitarian management with
Nos acompañan hoy
organized communities. We have here today
Matilde Beltrán de la Red de Acueductos Comunitarios de Colombia.
Matilde Beltrán from Colombia.
Nos acompaña también Ami Conti.
We also have
Cada quien se va a
Ami
presentar,
Conti.
pero Ami
People
viene
will be
de
introducing
Filipinas, tiene una
themselves, but
experiencia bastante
from the
significativa desde las
Philippines
cooperativas.
with a very
Está también el
significant experience.
compañero Dante Maschio del
We
Movimiento
also
Europeo por el
have
Agua y de Ingeniería Sin Fronteras.
our
El
comrade
compañero Braulio Moreno
from
que
Philippines,
viene
and then we have our comrade Braulio
la empresa
Moreno,
pública SABEMSA. Ahorita cada
the
quien nos va a contar
public
porque yo creo que cada
company.
experiencia en sí misma
I think that every
es una
experience
muestra
in
de la resistencia. Y
itself,
también está con
it is
nosotras
demonstration
Armelle
of
Bernard
resistance. And
de
we also
Aguas
have
de París.
Armelle
Entonces
Bernard
tenemos
from
un muy
Eau de
buen grupo de
Paris.
personas
So we have a
y
very
quisiera que
excellent
de una vez
group of people.
comenzáramos porque
And
esta
I
primera
would
ronda
want for us to
de
start, because
este
this first
webinario pues que se
round
inscribe en el febrero azul
of this webinar
y que es
should be
preparatorio
enrolled
de
in
la
the
participación de los
blue
movimientos
February.
por la
It is a
justicia
preparation
hídrica
for
en la conferencia
the movement
de
of
Naciones Unidas
water
en Nueva
justice
York,
in the
en
conference
donde
of the United Nations in
desde ese
New
proceso
York.
que estamos realizando de
Well,
instituir
from
el
this
Foro de los
process that
Pueblos
we're
por el Agua,
actually
vamos a tener una
starting and
participación
instituting the fora
protagónica desde los
for the
movimientos
people
dentro
in
del propio
defense of
foro
water, we have
y en la
an
calle. Yo
important
creo que nos estamos
participation in
con
the
estos
forum itself
eventos
and in the
preparando para una
streets.
participación
And with those
en
events,
esta
we are preparing
conferencia
ourselves for a
desde nuestras apuestas, desde
participation
nuestras
in these
propuestas, desde nuestras
events
resistencias.
from our bets,
Entonces,
from
la
our
primera ronda va a
resistance,
incluir que cada
from
quien se
our
presente porque,
movement.
como,
So first of all, we need
como les
to
decía,
you to introduce
cada
yourselves,
experiencia en
because
sí
as
misma
I
es una
mentioned,
demostración
every experience in
de la
itself is
resistencia.
a
Entonces, quisiera que
demonstration of the
cada quien,
resistance.
Matilde Beltrán,
Therefore, I would
empecemos por
like
ella, de la
every
Red
one
de
of you,
Acueductos
Matilde
Comunitarios de Colombia.
Beltrán
Buenos días,
from
Matilde.
Colombia. Good
Cuéntanos pues de
morning,
ti
Matilde. Please
y de
tell
la
us
organización
about
que
you
representas.
and about the organization that you represent. Good morning. It is a great pleasure to be here with you in this webinar with this communitarian process with our experience. I am a feminist, I'm an environmentalist, and I have been always struggling for human rights. So we worked with the communitarian aqueducts
Sabemos de ti que eres una
in
mujer
our
que toda la vida ha
province.
estado
We know
dedicada
that you are
a la
a
lucha
woman that
ambientalista y
always have
feminista
been
desde la red de
dedicated for the
mujeres de allá
environmentalist and
del territorio
feminist
de Villavicencio,
struggle
de los llanos
in
orientales de Colombia. La
area, your
red es muy
province of
representativa de
Villavicencio.
muchos procesos
It is
que
it
articulan
represents
comunidades
many
organizadas
different
en Colombia.
processes that are
Háblanos de la red
articulated by
y
organized
de
communities
su
in
propósito presente.
Colombia. We are talking about what is the main purpose today. So this network was born in 2006 in the referendum for the water, to support it in the constitution as a fundamental right, and also in a campaign to defend it as a common asset. In this context, the different communities decide together to be able to have their own legislation because they haven't been respected by the state. And then in that way, they decide in the first gathering not to separate themselves. Their own legislation from the rights. Okay, in the second round, we are going to discuss that furthermore. Now, I just want you to, I want Conti to introduce yourself, please. It is a great pleasure to have you here today in this conversation from different places of the world.
Hi, good day to all of you. I'm Conti. I am a part of the Associative Water Service Philippines. It is a water service group of the NGO Institute for Popular Democracy. Since 2007, we have been organizing water cooperatives for the waterless areas, specifically in North Metro Manila and one in Bacolod. Our source of water came from, we have no other choice but the water concessionaire in Metro Manila. So the periphery of the city in the urban areas were not provided by water by the big concessionaires. So especially in the urban areas where there are informal settlers and the urban poor communities. So those areas are the ones we were organizing. Unfortunately, the NGO lacked funds, so we just organized 5 water cooperatives in Metro Manila and one in Bacolod City in the Visayas. Right now, we are organizing
Muy bien,
not just
Ami.
water cooperatives, yeah.
Ami, luego nos vas a profundizar mucho en la segunda ronda sobre
Amy, later you will be talking in the second round more. This was just an introduction at the beginning.
Okay,
en la segunda ronda.
Thank
Ahora,
you.
Okay, we'll be doing that in the second round. Now, we just want people to introduce themselves now. Armelle, please, can you introduce yourself now?
Yes. Good morning. I'm Armelle Bernard. I'm working at Haute Paris. This is the French operator in Paris for water, and I am the directrice of the innovation and experience, client experience and innovation. And we work in Paris on the participation of a citizen. It's very important for us. And also we work on subject of access, social access to water. So I will speak about that after.
Muy bien, Armelle. Bienvenida. Ahora vamos a
Very good, welcome.
Braulio Moreno.
Now, Braulio Moreno, please.
No puede faltar aquí pues la presencia también de las organizaciones
We need the presence also of the trade union organizations.
En la empresa pública. Dale, Braulio. Buenos días.
And the participation in the public services. Good morning, and first of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation for this forum. Certainly, it will be extremely interesting. I am the manager of a public water company in a city of 35,000 inhabitants. We're a public company that has been there for 40 years. So we have a long experience with the public companies, and we are also we are associated to the municipalities that belongs, an organization that works with different municipalities. I have a small presentation that is 5 minutes long, if you allow me to present it.
Muy bien.
And we work
Y bueno,
also in Cataluña.
las comunidades azules están aquí
So the blue
representadas hoy
communities
por
are here
el compañero
represented by
Karl, buen día. Qué bueno que estés aquí con
Comrade
nosotros.
Karl. Karl,
Muy
it is
buenos
good that
días,
you're here today.
mucho gusto.
Good morning, it is a
Bienvenidos
great
a todos que
pleasure.
participan en esta charla.
And
Sí, me llamo
hello
Karl.
to
Yo
everybody who is participating. My name is Karl,
llevo un
and
compromiso con las Blue Communities
I'm
en Suiza.
committed to
Y muy
the
breve,
blue communities in
la estructura
Switzerland.
de la organización es una
And
red de organizaciones.
it
Hoy
is
en
a
día
network of
42
organizations.
miembros
Today
de Blue
we have
Community
today
entre
42 members in the
ciudades,
blue community,
municipios más
amongst
pequeños,
cities,
universidades,
small
ONGs,
municipalities, universities,
sindicatos.
NGOs,
Esta
trade
red está
unions.
creciendo. Eso
So
es,
this
digamos,
network
quizás un
is
algo
growing.
interesante. Y
And
todos
this
con
is
el
something
compromiso
interesting,
de
and
sí, de
everybody
reconocer
has
agua
the
como
commitment
derecho
to
humano,
recognize, acknowledge water as being a human
bien
right,
público y también con un compromiso
as
de
a public
ser
asset,
solidario
and with the
con
commitment of
movimientos
being
y iniciativas
having solidarity with movements and initiatives
en el sur. Porque
in the
nosotros
south.
únicamente trabajamos así,
Because
somos una
we
red en
only
Suiza,
work like that.
digamos,
We
en un
are a
contexto
network
de un
in
país del
Switzerland,
norte.
in the
En
context
nuestro país
of a country from the
otros
north.
desafíos en cuanto a agua,
We
en
have
cuanto a
other
protección,
challenges in
pero
terms of
en
water
general, el
and
agua en Suiza
protection,
es
but
público,
generally
está
speaking, the
está en
water
manos de
in
las
Switzerland
ciudades, de los
is in
municipios, pero
the
aún
hands
así,
of the
ese
municipalities.
movimiento
It is public, but
Blue
even
Community en
then,
Suiza tiene sus
the blue
especialidades y
community
estamos
in
muy
Switzerland
contentos
has
y muy
some
felices de ser
specialities,
parte
and we're
de
very
una red
happy to
mundial
be
de
part
protección
of
y
a
promoción del
world
derecho al
network
acceso al
of
agua.
protection.
Muy bien, y ahora vamos para Cataluña.
Very well, now we're going to Catalunya and to European water movement represented
Buen día, Javier.
by
Pues yo
Dante.
soy Dante
Hello,
Maschio, formo parte
Javier.
del Movimiento
Well,
Europeo del
I'm
Agua,
Dante
que
Maschio,
somos
and I
una
belong to the
plataforma
European Water
continental, no
Movement,
solo de la Unión
and we are
Europea,
a
sino
continental
continental,
platform,
que
not of
trabajamos
only
para
of the
reconocer,
European Union, but
entender
it
y
is a continental
reforzar
platform, and
el
work
acceso
to
al agua, el
understand, to stress
entendimiento del agua
the
como un derecho
access
humano y
to
un bien
water
común. Y
as
estamos
a
presentes a
common
través de
good and a
iniciativas y
human
movimientos
right, and
nacionales
we are
en
in
España, en Cataluña,
different
donde estoy yo ahora
initiatives
mismo,
and
en
national movements
Portugal,
in Spain, in Catalonia,
en
where I am,
Francia, en
in Portugal,
Irlanda, en Grecia,
in
en
France,
Serbia, en Bosnia y Herzegovina,
in
en
Ireland, in
Bruselas,
Serbia, in Greece,
en
in
Italia,
Bosnia Herzegovina,
y
in
conformamos esta
Italy,
plataforma, ¿no? que
and
nuestro
we
objetivo
are
es
part of this
precisamente incidir
platform, and
en la
our
Unión
objective
Europea,
is precisely
no solo en
to
su marco,
influence
sino también en su
in
marco
the
exterior, ¿no?
European
hacia el mundo, para
union,
reforzar
not only in
el
its
entendimiento del
framework,
agua
but
como un bien
abroad,
común.
in
Y
order to
llevamos
be
desde
able
el
to stress
2012
water as a
uniéndonos y
common
luchando
asset.
por una
And
gestión
since
pública,
2012,
democrática,
we've been
comunitaria y
struggling
participativa del
for
agua.
a democratic, public, and participative management
Muy
of
bien, como les
water.
decía, la sola presencia de las
Very well, as I said, those
reunimos hoy en
organizations and platforms
conversatorio
that are here
demuestra la
today
manera como
in
la
this
ciudadanía, las
webinar, they
comunidades,
demonstrate the way that
la
the
sociedad civil se
citizenships and the
moviliza
communities
en torno al
and
agua
the
y también
society
pues desde los
mobilizes
organismos
itself
públicos
with
que
water, and the public organizations
hemos logrado inclusive pues recuperar y mantener
that
en
have
manos públicas
been
y
able
en
to
manos,
recover
digamos, del
it in
control
the hands
ciudadano.
of the
Vamos a hacer una
control
segunda
of the
ronda
citizens' control.
para
Okay, we will have
profundizar
a
en cada
second
una
round now
de estas
to be
experiencias
able to
aquí
deepen
reunidas.
each one of these
Ya
experiences here.
hablábamos con Matilde, mire que la
We
Red
were
Nacional
talking
de
about
Acueductos Comunitarios
Matilde.
está luchando por una ley propia y su
I
reconocimiento,
mean, we know
pero yo sí
that
quisiera que Matilde nos
she's been
ahondara en eso de
struggling
qué
with it,
son
but I
las
want
aguas
Matilde
comunitarias
now
y
to
cuál es la
explain to
lucha
us what
presente
are the
entonces de
communitarian
la red de
waters
acueductos
and what is the
comunitarios
struggle
de Colombia
from
en
these
el presente.
a
Sí,
network
Matilde.
that she is working with. Matilde, please. The communitarian waters they have a communitarian management of the water, working with the different basins They are also organizations that have been working with the different territories. They are managed and have as a main purpose the water protection.
In the mountains, in the valleys, in the savannas, in the coast, and in the flooded areas, together with the national network of aqueducts to defend water as a common and public good. And obviously, in face of the threats to privatize water, through the presence of multinationals privatizing water sources, headwaters, the pollution, and the community organizations, the national network that articulates the territorial processes, we were able then to identify threats based on mining and fracking and the threats received by the defenders of water, the people who do the advocacy. We have been seeing in Colombia a change. As we all know, it's the first time that Colombia has a government with the characteristics of this one, the historical pact that was able to get to the government. Do you believe that there will be changes in the dialogue with community movements and opportunities in this government? The government has been there for 6 months in office, although the network of community organizations have done public hearings. At this moment, they go to the government to guarantee, in order to guarantee the rights. You know that in Colombia, there is no right to water in the Constitution, but the rights are not really guaranteed. So we believe that if we have an opportunity to articulate with the executive, with the help of the ministries, with the Congress, because we proposed our own law. It's already the second time, first with in the legislative and now in the Congress, with direct intervention of the people from this historical pact that had a political view. And we feel that this is the opportunity to participate. Also, we participated in the development plan, which is important for the defense of the water in the communities and territories. So we are speaking to Matilde, representing the voice of a country who has the tragic situation, history, a place where more social leaders and environmentalists have been murdered. So can you speak about this? We know that the agreement has been approved, but how is the situation in life and in the territories where the water sources are threatened? But what's happening to the activists? What is the situation in the resistance that you are carrying out? Yes, the country historically has been involved in violence, structural violence, and therefore this is not yet finished. And we can say that every day that there are defenders of water and the environment are threatened or disappear there. Unfortunately, we in any way in the territories, in the community management of the water tries to strengthen the social actions with the enrooting of the territory through community aqueducts, which are non-profit organizations that are organizing different organizations, whether they are formal or not. They are present with their cultural experience, their costume, their daily practices, and their relationship with water. And the relationship with the state is very important. And there has been some public agreements, community agreements at the regional level, local level. So we must strengthen this to confront so many threats, or to such as the defenders
y de
of
Colombia
water.
volvamos a Filipinas. Y allí,
Thank you
yo
so
quisiera que Ami
much,
nos
Matilde.
profundizara eso
From
que ya
Colombia, we are going
anunciaba,
now to the
una gestión
Philippines. I
comunitaria
would
que
like you
resiste,
to deepen
y háblanos
what
entonces
she
de esa
has announced
experiencia de
to
las
us, a community
cooperativas
management
y de
that
la resistencia
resists.
de las
So
mujeres,
tell us
porque
about
entendemos
the
pues que en
experience of
vuestra
cooperatives
experiencia
and the
las mujeres juegan un
resistance of
papel
women, because
supremamente definitivo, ¿no es cierto? Entonces, Ami, por
they have
favor,
a very important
profundízanos en
role.
esa
So please
experiencia
tell
de
us about this
resistencia
and
que ustedes
deepen
vivencian.
this experience of resistance that you.
Okay. Actually, in our country, in the Philippines, we have not experienced fighting or resistance versus the water privatization. Because in the first place, the water management in the Philippines is already privatized since 1997. The government awarded the management of water in Metro Manila to two private corporations, the Maynilad and Manila Water. So the communities, the waterless communities, especially the urban poor communities, we are organizing. Our a big problem is the tariff imposed by these concessionaires, because the government seems they have no plans for they bankrupted the water management in during the Márquez time. So in 1997, they awarded the management to two large water companies. And also the management in the provinces were in, before it was managed by under the semi-government. Now it is being bought by a private corporation, the Villar Corporation. So the trend in the Philippines is it is being privatized, the water management. Almost the big cities, also in the provinces, are being privatized, bought by the Villar company. So our biggest problem is the tariff imposed by the cooperatives, because the tariff given by the water concessionaire is the same as the tariff for directly connected consumers. So the water cooperatives still need to mark up their tariff for operational purposes. That is the main problem of the cooperatives, because we sell our water or for a higher higher price than that of the water concessionaire. And also the problem is the cooperatives have no assistance from the government. So that's why we organize cooperatives, because the people, we get our funds and our operational cost from the members, and we whatsoever we have no any financial assistance from the government. So that's a very problematic. And as I was saying during the first round, we have not expanded our organizing, water co-op organizing, because of lack of funds. So, yes.
Muy bien. Sí, ya. Gracias, Ami. Bueno, y
Thank you very much. Thank you, Amy.
bueno, y ahora vamos
And
a una experiencia que ha
now
sido también una experiencia de
we are
referencia
going
para
to
las
hear an
luchas
experience that was a
por la
reference
defensa de
for
la
the
gestión pública
struggles
del agua. Precisamente
in
la
the
recuperación
public
de aguas de
management
París,
of
pues para
water,
manos
and
públicas.
the
Tenemos
recovery of
entonces
water in
a
Paris went to
Armelle aquí
public
con
hands.
nosotras.
So we have
Ella tiene una
Armelle
presentación en la
that
que,
with
para que le
us. She
demos
has a
cabida pues a la
presentation
presentación
for
de
us.
Armelle,
So let's hear
que nos
her
va a hablar de esta
presentation of
experiencia que de verdad
Armelle
bien significativa es.
Bernard,
Hay una palabra que
and
en el
she's going
movimiento se
to
hace cada vez
explain
más
what this
cercana,
experience was,
y es
which
la
is
palabra
very
remunicipalización. Yo creo que
significant to
desde
us,
esa
and they have
perspectiva pues, de
used the word
recuperar a manos públicas
remunicipalization.
las empresas, hay una
Waters from Paris, how
experiencia
to
aquí que
implement a
muy importante
democratic
conocer.
water governance. It's
Armelle,
very important to
entonces,
get to know
dale a
this
tu presentación.
experience. Armelle, please.
Thank you very much. Do you hear me well? Yes, I suppose. Thanks. First of all, Haute-Paris is a public operator of water, but only water in Paris. We are not in charge of sanitation. Some information about our company. We are a very old company in reality, because the system was created in 19th century, but very, very rapidly, government decided to private this system and to work with private companies by delegation. And it's only since 2010 that the system is now a public system with a public operator. For supplying Paris in drinking water, we use underground and surface water. All this water is kept outside of the city in a large area. Some words about the price. Now the price of water in Paris is of 3.83 euros per cubic meter, and the part of Eau de Paris is only 1.12 euros per cubic meters. The other parts are composed of tax and fees, governmental tax, for example, and also water agency for all modernizing the system. And the most important part now is sanitation in Paris. For the part of Haute-Paris, what is the most important for us is performance, but not private performance, public performance. It means that we have to produce and to distribute and to have a customer service at the real cost for Parisians. We are responsible of all the system from captation to the tap. We are an integrated operator. And this is a really opportunity for Parisians. I will explain you that later. In Paris, we have 2 million of inhabitants for 2 million of consumers because of course, workers and tourism. We have only 100,000 buildings, apartments for 1 and 4 million of really apartments, and we are in contact with just 81,500 customers subscribing to the service. I give you these numbers because it can explain one of our problems. You know, the Parisian system is really complex because of the city design in the 19th century. The city area is very concentrated with only these 100,000 apartment buildings, majority private. Social landlords own only 7,000 buildings, bigger than private landlords with more people living, but in reality, it's a little part of all the customers, sorry. And Haute Paris is directly in relationship with only customers subscribing to the service. We have not real contact with the citizen and with the users. We think that the most important is the price of the water and the bill. And for having some ideas, the average budget is of 350 euros per year for a family of 2 persons. It's about €1 per day. It's not very high. It's a good price. It's an affordability price, but we think we have to be on control with this price, because for the poorest people living in Paris, we have 10% of the Parisian population who lives below the poverty line. It's important that the price will be the lower as possible. We have some actions about that. First, of course, prohibition of water cuts for domestic dwellings. We also have curative aids to help with payment of charge. To give you an order of our subventions, it's about since 2010 6 million euros that we have given to the fund of solidarity to help people to pay their charge about water. We also have special actions for homeless and migrants in Paris. But helping people by curative actions, it's a good thing, but the best is to prevent. And to prevent, we have to reduce the bill. And so we have a lot of actions about that, working with associations and with social actors, because we are not specialized about how to speak with people. And so we work with social actors about that. And so, for example, we try to find new ways for working with people about evolution of use practices. We know that, for example, that is the poorest people in Paris who don't drink tap water, because there is a problem of comparison about the quality of the water, so they prefer to buy bottles, and so it's very it's a cost for the families. We know also that people don't have they have cultural practices and they can consume a lot of water because of that. And so at the facts, the bill of the water is not because of the price of the water, it is because of all practices of the family. And for that, it's necessary to work with the social workers. For people living in the street, we work on fountains. We have new fountains in Paris, and we work with social organizations for maintaining these fountains open in winter, but also to explain to people where they can go to drink water at fountains. And also we give them goods every year because it's important that people can keep water and so have the good recipient for that. But the most important for us, this is important actions of course, but the most important action is to work with citizens and to associate citizens to the life of the system, of the service. Just one word about the service before, before the water refund, Parisian system was organized with a delegation to two private companies. It was Suez and Veolia. The city didn't control the service. It was a reality. They didn't know what the service did. And the price of the service was higher and higher. Now it's lower than at this period. And this price was explained by the fragmented organization. In fact, Parisian pays sometimes twice activities because of this fragmented organization. In 2007, the mayor of Paris decided on a proposal of Anne Lestrade, I think you know Anne Lestrade, to remunicipalize the service. And his proposal was one of the commitments for his re-election. And of course, he was re-elected. And for Bertrand Delanoë and Anne Lestrade, what is the most important is to consider that water is not a commodity. It's a common good, and we have to guarantee the best service to the real cost. And the municipality must control the service, and users must control the service. And for that, users have to be at the center of the service. So now consider that service has to be transparent, responsible, and inclusive. It's not only words. We work about that. First, by governance designed for transparency. Our governance is composed of 20 persons. 13 persons are elected representative of the community, of the municipality, excuse me. 2 are employees of the company and coming from unions, and 2 are representative of associations, consumer and environmental association, and also 1 member is a member of the Parisian Observatory. The Parisian Observatory has been created in 2006, and it was the goal was to associate associations, elected representative, unions, universities, and professionals to the decisions of the service. Parisian Observatory and Haute Paris governance were first steps to guarantee the association of users in the decision and to define the good way of information, because we know in Paris that we have a problem to touch users and deliver them the good information, even if we have a very, very modern platform, even if we organize events, it's not enough. And it's not enough to be in contact with the poorest of the population. So we decided to work with partners about our main subject. For example, our experts are presenting to our council and to observatory the projects we want to push, and they are open to discuss and to decision with council and observatory. It's very important. We work with partners. Also, we try to sensibilize young population, but all the actions and way are important, but not enough. And so now we are experimenting 2 new ways to be more in contact, to associate more and more citizens. The first one is a water participatory, sorry for the fault, budget. What does that mean? You know, in Paris since 2015, there is a participatory budget created by the municipality. And we look at, and some of the projects posted by Parisians concerned water. So to impulse water proposals, our council decided to create our own participatory budget. This decision responds to question of Parisians asking us how could we be able to participate to the city water system. The terms of this budget are access of drinking water. It's an important question, but also solidarity. We spoke about sport, sustainable food with the problem of birds, and protection of water. And we are convinced that it's a good way to count the needs and desires of Parisians. But it's not enough. And so we are working on a users committee. It's another way to create more relationship with citizens. The goal for us is to propose to Parisians to participate to the project of Haute Paris. We asked last year about the interest of the users committee to a group of Parisians. It's difficult because for a part of them, the committee has to work regularly, for other time to time, depending on subject. So what must we do? But all say that members will not be permanent members, because they don't want that it becomes a kind of professionals of water. They think it has to renew regularly, and I think it's a very interesting thing. Now we are studying how to form and recruit this member. We are also convinced that as for the council, the participation has to be free. It means without any remuneration. Our council is not remunerated, and only payment of cost for people, because, for example, for parents, they have to pay babysitting. It's normal to pay this babysitting to parents to permit them to come at the users committee. But the big question now, and I'm very interested by the example present today, is how to guarantee representativeness of citizens. And I will say to you, so now rendezvous in 2024 for looking at the result of this action. Thank you very much. I expect it was clear.
Gracias, Armelle. Bueno, usaste más del tiempo, pero me parece que es muy importante
You
para
used a little
nosotras
bit
aquí
more
en América
time,
del
but
Sur
it seems like it's very
conocer
important for
esta
us in South
experiencia de
America to get to
remunicipalización con
know
los
this
detalles que nos
experience
has
of
presentado, porque
remunicipalization with the
definitivamente es
details
urgente
that you brought
trabajar
to us,
por una nueva
because it's
gobernanza del
really
agua, por la
urgent to
transparencia
work
y una
with the new water
participación política
governance,
ciudadana.
transparency, and
Nosotras aquí
political
en el
citizenship
continente estamos
participation
viviendo la
in
pérdida de los
our
organismos
continent.
públicos
We are
y en cierto sentido,
losing
pues,
in
así
our
como
area
Matilde
we are
nos
losing
expresaba
the
que existe esa gran
official or government institutions.
cantidad
And
de
as Matilde was
organizaciones que hacen
explaining, there
autogestión
is a
comunitaria del agua
number
y
of
que el agua todavía está en
organizations
manos
that do
de muchos municipios
self-management
y
of
que se
their
están
water
realizando
in many
a socios público
municipalities
comunitarios
and
para
communities
defender
because
el
they
agua en
are
manos públicas y
associated to
comunitarias. Tenemos muchas
partners,
municipalidades en las que ya
social partners,
tanto
and we have many
organismos privados,
municipalities that
asocios
have
público-privados y empresas transnacionales son las que están
been
ocupando el
public,
lugar de los
private,
organismos
or
públicos que
transnationals
habíamos
are
logrado
or
constituir
taking the place
antes de
of
estas
the
décadas
public
de neoliberalismo
concessionaries
que
and
han
public
arrasado la
utilities.
institucionalidad
So
pública
they
en el
have
continente.
really
Bueno,
turned down
entonces en esta
the
misma
access
línea,
to water.
yo creo que vamos en la
So
misma
in the
línea
same
de lo que nos
line
presenta
of
Armelle,
thought
Braulio Moreno nos
that
va a mostrar
Armelle
otra
spoke
experiencia
about,
muy significativa
we are going to
y
hear
esa urgente
another
articulación
person
de
with
los
a
organismos
very
públicos, de los municipios y las
significant
comunidades. Y yo creo que el centro pues, de tu
experience about
intervención también nos va a
communities.
ayudar mucho a comprender,
And so we are
Braulio,
going to hear
cómo
your
es que ustedes conciben
intervention.
los asocios
Braulio,
público-comunitarios,
please,
los
how do you
asocios entre empresas para defender
consider
precisamente la
the
gestión
partners
pública del
with
agua? Y eso pues yo creo que lo enmarcamos en
companies,
una
and
perspectiva
how
de
can
una
you make
gobernanza
the
democrática
public
del agua.
management of
Bueno,
water
Braulio,
with a
es tuya la palabra.
democratic
Comparto
governance
pantalla
of
y
the water?
os hago la presentación.
De 7 minutos.
I'm going to share my presentation
Dale, Braulio.
so
puedo
that
menos,
you
si
can
puedo.
see it.
Bien,
7 minutes,
la
right?
Asociación de Municipios
If I can
Eficaz
do
para el
it
Agua
in
Pública
less
es
time,
una
I will.
cooperación entre operadores
This is the
públicos
association
en
of
Cataluña
entities,
y
municipal
ayuntamientos
entities
también.
for public water from
Entonces, a día de hoy
Catalonia
somos
and
68
the
socios
association
entre
and operators,
ayuntamientos,
public
empresas públicas
operators.
y
Today we
entidades que
have
apuestan por la gestión
68
pública
partners
del agua. En
among
total es
city
40
governments, public
aquí ponemos un
operators, and
45% de la población de Cataluña, pero en
institutions
realidad
that defend the water.
ya se van
In
asociando
total,
más municipios y estamos
45% of
cerca del
Catalonia's
50%.
population is here, but
¿Qué
we
objetivo
have
persigue
more
nuestra asociación?
municipalities
Pues la difusión de la
associated. We
gestión
are
pública del
around
agua, la
50%. The
incidencia
goals of
política,
our association
apostando por una
is
gestión
to
pública del
disseminate
agua
the public management
y
of
el
water,
apoyo técnico
to
a la
have a
gestión
political
pública del
influence in
agua.
the public management,
La
and to
creación de
have
la asociación en el
technical
año
support of the
2018
public
viene
management.
dada por
The
esta falta de
creation
una
of the
asociación que
association
diera
is from
soporte a la gestión
2018,
pública.
and
Sí
it
que había
came
en
up
ese
because
momento
of the lack of association
empresas
for
públicas
public
a nivel de
management.
Cataluña,
There was at
pero
that
no se
time,
disponía de una entidad que pudiera
there
dar
were
soporte
public
a
companies in
empresas
Catalonia, but in
o
contact
a
with an
municipios en los
institution that gave
cuales
support
el
to
tamaño
the
no permitía
companies or
pues
municipalities.
una tecnología
That
suficiente o un apoyo institucional suficiente.
the size of it
Entonces,
did
el
not
abastecimiento de agua en
allow
baja
sufficient
es una
technology
competencia de los
or
entes locales, básicamente los municipios,
enough
pero que no disponía
municipal
de este
support. So
apoyo. En
with the
Cataluña
competence of those
somos una
local
excepción,
issues and
solo el
municipalities, we
55%
didn't have that
del total de
agreement.
los
But in
municipios
Catalonia,
hace gestión directa. El resto
524
está en manos de compañías privadas.
municipalities
Y
do
además,
direct
no solo eso,
management
sino
of
que
water. The
solo
rest
el
is at the
22%
hands of
de la
private hands.
población
So
recibe el agua de operadores
besides that,
públicos.
only
Aquí hay una gran
22% of the
empresa, que es
population
Aguas de
gets the
Barcelona, que
water from
suministra,
public
es una empresa
operators.
privada, como sabéis, que
Here,
suministra
there's
gran
a
parte
great company,
del
Waters
agua
from
en el área metropolitana
Barcelona.
de
They
Barcelona.
they
¿Cuál es
supply most of the water
nuestra
in the
intención? Pues que poco
metropolitan
a
area of
poco los
Barcelona.
municipios
What is
vayan
our
tomando partido
intention?
y que la gestión
Is
pase a
little
ser
by
pública.
little with the
De momento, en los últimos
municipalities
10 años, ya
taking
han remunicipalizado el
action
servicio unos
the
36
management
municipios.
should be public.
Y 25 más
For
están en
now,
proceso de
we
recuperar la
have
gestión pública del agua.
re-municipalized
La intención
35
es que sean muchos
municipalities
más.
in the
Pero es que
water.
hace unos
Another
años la perspectiva
25
era muy
are in the
negativa.
process of
Gracias a la
recovering the
asociación y
public
al
water.
soporte que da la
A
asociación,
few years
poco a
ago, the
poco se van
perspective was
añadiendo
very
nuevos
negative,
municipios.
but thanks to the association
El
and its
contexto es el que os
support,
comentaba. Hay un alto grado de
more and more
privatización del
municipalities
servicio.
are
Hay
adding
como
to our
una
association. They
costumbre
have
muy
high
enraizada
degree
a un
of
servicio privado
privatization
aquí en
of the
Cataluña,
service,
pero poco a poco
and
se va
they
cambiando.
have
No había
the
apoyo de los organismos supramunicipales, pero se está
custom of
incidiendo
having
para que a
aggregate
nivel político se
management. There were
consiga
no
aumentar
support of
esta gestión pública.
supra-municipal bodies,
Como podéis
but
ver, sostenido crecimiento de la gestión
we have to
pública. Es una
increase this
realidad.
public
Desde
management
2018 estamos
and
consiguiendo
the
que más
sustained
municipios se
growth
sumen a
of
la gestión
public
pública del agua.
management. We have been able to
Y
make
la
more
asociación pues, impulsa esta
municipalities
cooperación. No
sum
solo
up to
se
the
incide a
public
nivel
management
político, sino
of
que
water,
también
and
entre
the
operadores estamos
association
colaborando.
pushes
hecho,
forward the
Más adelante
cooperation
os
among
comentaré
public
cómo
operators
desde nuestra
and
empresa
the
colaboramos con otras empresas
municipalities.
para
Now
ayudarles a
I will
iniciar, a
comment
dar este
how
primer paso.
how
Entonces,
our
¿qué es lo que
company
estamos haciendo? Pues
cooperates
se
with
convocan
other
jornadas
companies
técnicas
to
a
give
las
the
que acuden
first
los
step.
operadores
What are we
públicos
doing? We
para
have
hablar de
technical
temas que nos
journeys
afectan en
or
el día a día.
workshops. The operators
Aquí
come,
ponemos
they
un par de
speak
ejemplos, como
about
es la tarifación
issues
social
that
y
affect
otra
our daily
la
life.
lectura a
For example,
distancia, la
social
comunicación
tariff,
con los contadores, la
the
instalación de contadores electrónicos, que es un tema que
reading
nos está
of
preocupando
numbers
mucho
from a distance,
últimamente a todas las
the
compañías, y lo que estamos haciendo pues, es convocar reuniones
measure
periódicas de
done
todos
by
los temas que nos pueden
electronic
preocupar.
meters,
Entre ellos estos dos,
and
pero es solo un
we have
ejemplo.
periodic
¿Qué más se hace desde la
measurements.
asociación? Pues
So these are the
encuentros
major
bilaterales
things. Also,
en
we
aquellos
have
casos
bilateral
en que algún
agreement
municipio solicite
meetings
ayuda
on
para
themes in the
empezar a
cases
implantar una empresa o a llevar ellos la
if
gestión
one
directa desde el
municipality
municipio.
requires help
Se tiene una
to
reunión con
start
ellos, se mantienen reuniones y se
doing
habla pues, de todo lo que a ellos les pueda
direct
preocupar, desde
management
el
in the
software necesario
municipality. We have
para llevar a
meetings
cabo
with
la
we speak
facturación, la
about all
comunicación con el
of their
cliente, los pliegos de
concerns, the
contratación,
software
que nosotros tenemos que hacer licitación
for
para
the
contratos
bills, the
públicos
communication with
y
the
toda
client,
una serie de
the
soluciones que van a ser necesarias para llevar a cabo
public
esta gestión
tenders,
pública.
and a series of
También se
solutions
promueven
that are
seminarios
necessary
formativos.
to
Aquí os
carry out the
detallamos
public
una
management.
mínima
We
serie de lo
also
que estamos haciendo,
promote
desde alcantarillado hasta
training
gestión
seminars.
del agua
Here we
en
have a
pequeños
list of
municipios,
things
que
we are
son los que
doing. The first
normalmente lo
one
tienen muy
is
complicado volver a
sewage,
recuperar el
the
servicio, pero lo estamos
management of
consiguiendo.
water in micro municipalities, the calculation of the
Implantación
tariffs.
de los planes de sequía municipales, que actualmente,
We
por
also
desgracia,
have
estamos
plans
inmersos en una
for
sequía muy grave aquí en
municipal
Cataluña.
droughts. We
Gestión
are
financiera de
also
activos, gestión de datos,
having a
cómo promover
very
la participación
long
ciudadana
drought
y
in
cómo
Catalonia. We
controlar
have
las
the
concesiones en
management
caso
of the
de que se haya hecho una concesión incorrecta.
financial
A base de webinars formativos e incluso, si es
active
posible, pues también presenciales.
patrimony of the company.
Igualmente se han
So
elaborado
we have
una serie de
webinars
guías
and
técnicas que la mayoría
if
están
possible,
colgadas en nuestra
also
página
some
web, referidas a temas
in-person
que son los que más nos
seminars.
preocupan siempre, ¿no? Cómo
Most
se
of
calcula una
our
tarifa, cómo se
training is
liquidan los
on our
contratos
site,
de
like the
concesión para
calculation of
poder
tariff,
acceder
the
a la
how do
gestión
you
pública,
do away
qué
with
procesos
concession
son necesarios
contracts
para
so you can have
remunicipalizar
access
el
to
servicio,
public management?
control
What
de
are
las
the
concesiones,
necessary
si es una
processes
concesión
for
indirecta, tarifación
remunicipalization of
social,
services,
etcétera, etcétera,
the
etcétera.
control of concessions or
Espero haber sido
utilities,
breve.
and social tariff, etc. Thank
Muy
you
bien.
very much. I
No,
hope
yo
I
creo que
was
miren
short.
la cantidad de asuntos comunes que tenemos
Yes, you were very good.
entre
See
cuando
the
nos enfrentamos
number
pues al
of
acceso y
issues
suministro de
that we
agua
have in common
y
when we
cómo
speak about
en
the
ambos lados,
access
en
and
el sur,
supply
en lo que
of
llamamos el
water.
sur allá, se están dando
both
luchas que
in
son
the
muy
south
parecidas. Yo creo que de la
and the global
remunicipalización
south.
tenemos mucho que
There are
aprender,
many
porque
similar
yo creo que la lucha
struggles.
también nuestra
The remunicipalization is
pasa,
an
si bien se ha
issue
centrado mucho en la
about
defensa
which
de
we
la gestión
must learn a
comunitaria del
lot.
agua,
It's our
pasa por
struggle,
la recuperación
and
a manos
we
públicas
have
de las
to
empresas que se han perdido, y vuelvo a
focus
insistir
on
en
the
estas 3
community
décadas o más
management
de
of the water,
reformas
but we must
neoliberales
think
que
about the
dieron al traste
recovery
pues
of the
con la
privatization of
con la
water. So we
con el
have
control
lost maybe
municipal
2
y
or 3
estatal de
decades
los
on that.
organismos públicos. Creo que esta experiencia, estas 2 experiencias que acabamos de ver
Many territories
y
have
esta
lost
articulación entre
this
municipalidades y
control of
operadores
water. So
nos
these
deja muchas
articulation among
enseñanzas. Y de
municipalities
aquí
and operators
de la experiencia que nos
teach
acaba de
us a lot
presentar
of things.
Braulio
And
y de esta
here,
manera
from the
de resistir
experience
tan
of Braulio,
creativa,
this is the
vamos
way to
a las
resist.
comunidades
It's such a
azules
creative way. So
con
let's
el
go to the
compañero
blue
Karl, que yo creo que
communities
si bien
with
nos dijo
our
ahora
brother
que la Suiza
Karl,
tiene
who
que
told
tiene
us that Switzerland
manos públicas,
is at the
digamos,
public
la
hands,
prestación del servicio, esa lucha
and they
contra
have
las
the
formas distintas de la
presentation of the
privatización del agua
service, and they
equivale
have the
cualquier
fight
lugar
against different
del
forms of
mundo, ¿no? Y esta
privatization.
experiencia de las comunidades
Could happen
azules,
anywhere in the world.
que también
And
está
the
desplegándose ahora
experience of
en
blue
América del Sur,
communities
es
that is
bastante
now
significativa como
growing
otra
in South
manera
America is
de
very
resistencia
significant
propositiva y creativa.
as
Entonces tienes
another
la palabra, Karl,
form
para
of
que nos hables
propositional
desde esa tan
resistance. So now
significativa
I give the
experiencia de
floor to
ustedes.
Karl. And
Bueno,
please
muchas
tell us
gracias
about
y
your
muchas gracias más
experience.
que todo también
Thank you
Armelle
very
y
much,
Braulio
more than
por todas estas
Armelle
explicaciones,
and
cómo
Braulio.
ustedes en el
Thank you
contexto de
for all the
París o de Cataluña
specifications, how
están
you did that in Catalonia and Paris,
digamos,
how
el
you are
manejo
promoting
público
this
de
public
los sistemas de
management
agua. Eso
of
me
the
parece
water
súper
systems.
interesante y toda
It's
esta
super
riqueza de
interesting,
experiencia vale la pena
all
que
of
ustedes
this
sigan
richness of
compartiendo también en
experiences.
otros
It's
países
very
del
important that
sur
you
y en
continue
en
to
el
share
norte.
this with other countries in
Y
the
eso me ha
south and in the north.
causado
And this
mucho a
made me think
reflexionar mientras yo he
about
escuchado a sus
while I was
presentaciones y me
listening to
doy
your
cuenta que sí,
experiences.
el contexto en
I
el cual
came to the
nosotros en Suiza
conclusion that
estamos
the
es
context where we
diferente.
are in
Digamos, en
Switzerland
nuestro
is a
caso
different
tenemos
one.
en este
In
sentido
our
resuelto
case,
el
we
problema,
have, in
digamos,
this case,
del
we have
manejo
solved the problem
público
of
de las
the
aguas. Más o
public
menos un
management of the waters. More or
97% de los
less,
sistemas de agua está en manos
97%
de
of
las
the water
ciudades,
systems
de los
are at the
municipios. En este
hands
sentido,
of the
sí,
cities and
estamos bastante
municipalities. In
bien,
that sense,
pero lo
yes,
que
we are
nosotros
doing
como
well.
comunidades
But what
azules
we,
en este contexto de
the
Suiza
blue
estamos
communities in
intentando
this
es
context of
promover más
Switzerland are
solidaridad
trying to
de
do
las ciudades,
is
de
to
los
promote more
municipios con iniciativas
solidarity
en el
of the
sur.
among cities and
Porque si
municipalities
queremos
with initiatives
llegar
such as the southern
al
ones,
de
because we
tener la
want
situación que
to
todos los hombres
have the
mujeres tengan acceso
situation where
asegurado
all
a
men and
agua
women have
limpia hasta
access to
2030.
water,
Entonces
clean
es obvio,
water until
tenemos que
2030.
tener más
So it's
actores,
obvious that
tenemos
we
que
must
tener
have
un
more
compromiso más
actors
fuerte de
and more
muchas
commitment,
instancias más.
stronger commitments
Y
from many other
en nuestra
levels.
lógica, digamos,
And in
las
our
ciudades en nuestro
rationale,
país, los
the
municipios, tenemos más o menos
cities in
3,000
our country and the
municipios con
municipalities
sus
where we have like
sistemas de
3,000
abastecimiento de agua
municipalities
y con
with their
bastante
systems of
experiencia.
water supply
Entonces hay
with a lot of
una riqueza de
experience too.
experiencia que
So
valdría
there
la
is a
pena también de
richness of
compartir o de un
experiences
poco
that
nuestro
we should
sueño es
also
tener
share. But
hermandades
our dream
norte-sur,
is that we,
una
in
ciudad
the
o un sistema
fraternity
de
between North and
abastecimiento de
South,
agua de
we
Berna, de
should have
Zurich,
a system of water
en una
supply.
hermandad con digamos, un
Should be
observatorio de
a
agua en un
fraternity
contexto
with
sur.
the water observatory,
Quizás no tanto para
maybe
la
not so
cuestión
much for
financiera, eso
the financial issue, of course, but more than everything, just to focus on the exchange of experiences. And in this context of Switzerland, I think we have a lot to learn from the context, for example, in Colombia, with the aqueduct network of communities, community aqueduct networks. We are not only thinking about the situation we have in the north. It's really an exchange of experiences, rich experiences, such as has been the citizens' participation in the water management, and how can we have changes. And by doing this, we understand how the Blue community is sensitizing and bringing awareness to promote solidarity networks between North and South with exchange of experiences. That's why I love the experience from Paris, from Catalonia, from Colombia. This type of experience seems to be so important. And for the moment, we have the goal of increasing the number of Blue communities in Switzerland. We have more than half of the municipalities in the cities identifies themselves as Blue communities, with the communities to be open and aware of the needs, but also of the richness of experiences in other countries and cities. And the mechanism is the International Day of Water that we promote every year with activities around the 22nd of March, creating alliances among actors in the same region in order to get to know one another and ally with different types of organizations, NGOs, trade unions, representatives from the municipalities, from the cities, churches also, so that we all know that it has to do with shared commitment among all the sectors of the society. And maybe the last aspect that at this moment we are working with is strongly working towards the water conference in New York, and with direct communication with the government of Switzerland. And maybe they want to know what will be the attitude of our country in the New York conference. In our case, we have a side event as Blue communities in New York with a scientific institution of research from Zurich and others that are sharing a work instrument about how to analyze the situation in a global context. And these results are useful to elaborate a common agenda about the important steps to obtain access to water for all. Right now, we are implementing in Dakar, in Senegal, and also in Rio Pardo in Brazil, where we have an observatory of water composed of 40 social movements, NGOs, in the whole region of Rio Pardo in Minas Gerais and Bahia. This is our goal, to relate and to create fraternities where this kind of observatory from the South can work with the network of Blue communities in Switzerland, and together we form part at the worldwide level of a world network of protection of water, so we can have a chance to exchange experiences such as we heard from Colombia, Paris, and Catalunya, and the Philippines. These are rich experiences.
Sí,
It's
Karl, me
important
quedo
that
con
we
una
all
palabra muy
share that.
hermosa que pronunciaste que se llama
So now
hermanamiento.
I have a
Yo creo
very
que en los movimientos por el agua y en el
very
marco del
nice
foro
word, which is the
mundial, del foro
fraternities for
de
the
los
water
pueblos
at the
por el
global
agua,
level.
creo que la materialidad de esos hermanamientos
I
tiene
think
formas muy
that the
concretas de realizarse.
materiality is
Hemos
very
mencionado aquí los
concrete.
observatorios,
So we have mentioned
fortalecer la
the
participación
observatories
de la
to
ciudadanía y de
strengthen
las
the
comunidades en el
participation
control, en la
of the
gestión del agua,
citizenships
pero también
and
pues la
the
propia,
control of the water
las propias
management,
comunidades que se
but
organizan desde la
also the
economía solidaria
communities that are
alrededor de
organized based
autoabastecerse de
on
agua.
the
Creo
solidarity
que la
communities.
conferencia de Nueva York va a
And
ser
I
un buen
believe that
encuentro
the New York
para
conference will
nuestras
be a good
organizaciones
opportunity
y nuestras
for
plataformas
our
bajo la sombra pues, del
organizations
foro
and our
y
platforms
que
under
esta
the
conversación
umbrella
de
of
hoy
the
va pues
forum.
precisamente
And I
en
think
ese
that this
sentido
conversation
y le da
today will go in that
propósito
sense,
pues, a,
and
nuestro,
it will
a
give
nuestros
a
encuentros.
lot of
Y
purpose
bueno, de
to
esta
our
conversación,
gathering.
de estas palabras de
And
Karl, que nos mostró pues
with
las
those
comunidades azules como alternativa tan
different words
concreta y
from Karl
creativa,
that showed
vamos
these
al movimiento
concrete,
europeo por el
creative
agua y
alternatives,
esas
we
luchas
will
tan
go to the
significativas pues, que
European
ha dado el
movement for
movimiento
water,
contra la privatización,
in which
los
these
referéndums, las
struggles against
movilizaciones que han
privatization, the
logrado la ciudadanía
referendums,
pues,
the different movements
europea
that the citizens
y
in
el papel
Europe
que también
managed
jugaron
are
en
very
la
important,
consagración
and the
del
role
del
that
derecho
they
humano al agua, en fin.
actually had
Hoy ¿cómo está ese
in
movimiento?
the
¿Qué
struggle for the
mirada
human
tiene
rights,
de
the
las
water, the
formas de la
human rights? So
privatización
what is the
que
situation
también se
today?
renuevan
How
a
do
la
you
larga, ¿no?
see
Hoy estamos hablando
privatization?
de
Because there are different ways of
financiarización
privatization.
y
We're
cosas por el
talking
estilo.
about
Entonces, con
financiarization
el
and things
compañero
like
Dante
that.
de Ingeniería Sin Fronteras
So
vamos a
with
tener la
Dante,
voz aquí del movimiento europeo por el
let's
agua.
have
Dale,
the
Dante.
voice of the
Gracias,
European
Javier.
movement. I'll
Pues
pass you the
como
floor.
decías,
Thank you,
después
Javier.
de
Well,
11
as
años
you
de
said,
existencia de la
after
plataforma europea,
11 years
seguimos
of this European
luchando
platform,
para
we
parar
continue
privatizaciones, pero
struggling
también para celebrar
to
logros,
stop
¿no? Como
privatizations, but
comentaban la
also to
compañera
celebrate
francesa,
conquest.
Braulio, Karl,
As
en Europa también hay
our
logros que son los que permiten
comrades
también
from France
mantener
used
la
to
red, ¿no?
mention,
Tenemos las
we
remunicipalizaciones de París,
managed many things, these
también de
remunicipalizations of
Lyon, que
Paris,
remunicipalizó este enero y es la
of
tercera ciudad más
Lyon,
grande
that
de Francia.
remunicipalized it in
Tenemos, como comentaba
January,
Braulio, las más de
this
30
January,
remunicipalizaciones
and
en
we have more
Cataluña
than
y otras
30
cuantas en España.
remunicipalizations in Catalonia
Tenemos
and some others in
la
Spain.
remunicipalización de
And
2013
we have the
en Nápoli,
remunicipalization of
gracias a la organización
2013
del
in
referéndum del
Napoli,
2011 del Foro
thanks to the
Italiano del Agua,
organization
que
of the
consiguió
2011
el no a la
referendum
privatización
that
con un
managed the no
95%
to
del resultado
privatization with
favorable al no a esta
95% of
privatización y con una
favorable
participación
results,
altísima de más del
and with a
65% del
very high
electorado.
participation of
Todos
more than
estos
65% of
logros, ¿no? Nos
the
permiten
voters.
seguir
All those
uniéndonos,
conquests actually
compartiendo, ¿no? Formando
allow us together
estos
to
acuerdos que le
share
decimos nosotros, ¿no?
and
Estos
to manage to have
asocios
these
comunitarios entre
agreements, these
organizaciones para
associations,
proteger el agua
communitarian
aquí en Europa, ¿no?
associations,
Porque
to
nos
protect
juntamos
water in
justo
Europe,
en el
because
2011,
we
¿no?
gathered
Antes con los
in
encuentros previos
2011,
en los foros
always
sociales
with previous
europeos, por ejemplo el de
gatherings in the
2008,
different European social
con una
fora in
preocupación elevada en lo que le
2008,
podía
for
pasar al agua
example,
y a los
with
servicios
a high
públicos
concern with what
por
could
un
actually
contexto de
happen to
crisis,
water and
¿no? Y
public
lo que nos
services,
unía era una
given the
Comisión
crisis.
Europea que caminaba
And
hacia la
what united
privatización
us
de
was
los
the
servicios públicos
European
y el agua
Commission
era
that
una
was
punta de lanza
actually
de todas
moving
estas
in the direction
privatizaciones, ¿no?
of
Lo vimos, por
privatizations,
ejemplo,
and water
con
was in
las
the forefront.
políticas
We saw
de
that, for
austeridad
example, with the different
cocinadas por la Troika, por
policies of
esta Comisión
austerity
Europea, con las
done by
instituciones
this
financieras, este
commission, the
banco,
Troika,
el
the
Banco
financial
Europeo, ¿no?
institutions, the European
Imponiendo las
Bank,
condicionalidades de privatización a
imposing
países como España,
conditions
Irlanda y
for
Grecia,
the
¿no? Pero también
privatization,
vimos
like
cómo la
Spain
comunidades y movimientos
and
locales
Greece, for
se
example, and Portugal, and
organizaron
we saw
en los propios
like the local
territorios, hicieron
movements got
referéndums, como el que hubo
organized
en
in their
Grecia, para
territories,
decir
and they
no a la
did
privatización,
referendums,
y
and
eso
like
consiguió,
in
por ejemplo, que el
Greece to say
Consejo
no to
de Estado de
privatization,
Grecia
and they
prohibiera la
managed that
privatización de las
the
dos
Council of
mayores
State in
empresas
Greece
públicas, la de
forbade
Tesalónica y la de
the
Atenas, ¿no?
privatization, the
Entonces,
one in
este
Thessaloniki and in
contexto, ¿no?
Athens.
de querer
So in
caminar
this context of
hacia la
wanting
privatización,
to move
tuvo
towards
una respuesta de los
privatization,
movimientos y eso fue lo que nos
had
llevó
a
a
response from the
juntarnos,
movements,
¿no? Y
and
como
this
éxitos
made
también
us
tuvimos en esos años
gather, and as
importantes
successes we had in those
los
important
asocios,
years
la
of
primera
these
iniciativa ciudadana europea que se
associations, the
realizó
first
aquí en la
citizens
Unión Europea, que
initiative that was
básicamente
done here in the
consiste en la
European
recogida de
Union, and
firmas
basically
para hacer una
has to
petición
do
a la Unión
with
Europea
a
pidiendo
petition
una petición
for
clara,
the
y
European
nosotros usamos
Union.
por primera
It
vez
is a
este
very clear
mecanismo
petition,
gracias
and we
a
collected
EPSU,
the signatures,
a la
and we used
Federación
this
Europea
mechanism
de
thanks to the
Sindicatos
apps, so
de los
the
Servicios Públicos, y conseguimos más
European
de 1,8
Federation
millones de
of
signaturas
Public Trade
para
Unions, and
exigirle y
we managed to have
demandarle a la
more than
Unión Europea el
1.8 billion
reconocimiento
signatures
del
to
derecho humano al agua y al
demand
saneamiento, tal y como
acknowledgement
dictamina la
to our
resolución de
right
Naciones
to
Unidas,
water, as
y
it
otras
was in the
demandas,
resolution
¿no?
of the
Como
United
garantizar un
Nations,
mínimo
and
vital de
other
agua
demands,
para
like,
toda la
for example,
población,
to
porque en
assure
Europa
a
tenemos 13
minimum of
millones de
water
personas
for
con
the
riesgo de
population, because in
desconexión,
Europe we have
y también
13
pedir
million of
que
people
no
that
se
can
liberalice
that suffer the
ni se
risk of
mercantilice con el
disconnections,
agua, ¿no?
and
Porque Europa, como bien
asking
saben
not
los
to
compas latinoamericanos,
liberalize
a través de
nor
los
to
tratados de comercio e
mercantilize
inversión,
or
siempre se nos meten
commodify
condicionalidades que acaban
water,
afectando a
because
servicios públicos como el agua.
all these movements
Pues la
always
organización
affect the
de esta
public
iniciativa
services
nos
like
fortaleció
water.
como
So this
movimiento y
initiative
nos
actually
permitió
strengthened us as a
forjar una
movement
estrategia
and
de
allowed
incidencia
us
en
to
la
create
Comisión
an
Europea, en el
incident
Parlamento Europeo,
strategy in the
que con
European
el tiempo
Commission and the
se ha
European
ido
Parliament,
diluyendo.
and with time this
La
got
iniciativa fue un
diluted.
éxito, pero esto una vez
So the
subió
initiative was
a
a
la Comisión
success,
Europea, se acabó
but
diluyendo y
this when
tergiversando,
it
¿no?
went
Incluso
to
podríamos
the
decir,
European
si bien es
Commission,
cierto que
it
el
was
2015
actually
el Parlamento Europeo
deviated,
tomó
and in
parte de las
2015 the
demandas
European
y reconocía en su
Parliament
resolución lo
participated
que
and
pedíamos
acknowledged the
como iniciativa
resolution of
ciudadana
part of those
europea,
demands
Right to
as what
Water,
we
¿no?
asked
El derecho al agua.
in the right
Cuando
to
esto se llevó
water.
a la Comisión, y la
And
Comisión a
when
través
it
del
actually
Comité de
reached
Medio
the
Ambiente lo
Commission,
volvió
and
a
the
bajar al
Commission
Parlamento
through the Environmental Committee sent it
con
to
una
the
propuesta
Parliament
concreta, fue un
with a
absoluto
concrete
desastre, ¿no? Y al final,
proposal,
después de todos
it
estos
was a
años,
complete
lo que hemos
disaster. And in
acabado
the end, after
introduciendo
all
es
these
en
years,
una
what we
directiva
ended up
una ley
introducing
de
was
marco
a law, a
europeo
bill
de
with a European
regulación
framework,
del acceso al agua potable, ¿no?
a
En términos sobre
regulating
todo de
law
calidad.
of
Hemos
access to
conseguido
drinking water,
meter de
quality
forma
drinking
muy
water,
vaga
and we
ciertas de las
managed
demandas que
to put
teníamos
it in a
en
very
nuestra
vague
iniciativa,
way,
¿no?
some of the demands that
Pero
we
la
had
lectura
in our
final es que
initiative. But the final
aunque hubo un impulso
interpretation
muy fuerte para reconocer el
was
derecho humano
that
al agua,
even
las
though there
instituciones
was a
europeas no
stronger
tomaron la voluntad
push,
de hacerlo, y por
the
lo tanto
European
esto justifica, ¿no? que
institutions
10
didn't have the
años después
political will.
sigamos
That's why
pidiendo, ¿no? y
10 years
exigiendo
later, we
el
continue
reconocimiento de este
asking
derecho humano
and
al agua y al
demanding
saneamiento, porque
the
aún no se ha
acknowledgement of the
reconocido, por
right to
mucho que ellos
water,
digan, ¿no?
because
que en
this
esta
still
directiva de agua
wasn't
potable
acknowledged,
se introduce
even though
el acceso
they
al agua como
say
derecho,
that our
y no
drinking
es así.
water bill is
Y
became
para
a right,
acabar, yo
but
creo
it
que
is not the
también,
case. And
como
to finish, I
comentaba
think that,
Karl, aquí también desde
as it
el
was
movimiento
mentioned
europeo,
by
pues
Karl,
estamos
here from the
vigilando,
European
¿no?
movement,
expectantes y
we are
participando en la medida de
very
lo posible en el proceso
we are
hacia la conferencia
participating and
de
as
Nueva
much as
York.
possible.
El
And it
movimiento
has to do
europeo
with
del
the
agua tiene
conference in New
esta vocación
York, and the
internacionalista
European
de solidaridad
movement has
internacional,
this
y desde los
internationalist
principios de la
perspective
organización de
and
los foros
solidarity
alternativos
based,
mundiales
and
del
the
agua,
principles
estos
of
espacios
the alternative
alternativos
fora,
al Foro Mundial del Agua,
those
organizado por el
alternative
Consejo Mundial del Agua, uno de los
fora
mayores lobbies
organized by
internacionales del
the
agua, pues
Water
siempre hemos estado allí,
Council.
¿no? Con los movimientos de justicia
Always
hídrica
we
de
have
todo el
been
mundo,
there with our
organizando estos
movements from
encuentros,
all over
y
the
fue
world,
allí en
organizing
Dakar,
those
¿no? En este
meetings, and
último
it
foro
was
alternativo,
there in
cuando
Dakar
empezamos,
in this
¿no?
last alternative forum when we
a ver y a
actually
conocer
started
que en
to
este marzo de
see and
2023
to
tendríamos una conferencia del agua
understand
en
that in
Naciones
March
Unidas, ¿no? Después de
2023
más
we
de
would
50
have a
años
UN
sin una
conference
conferencia como
after more
tal,
than
y
50
ahí
years without such a conference. And that is why we gathered always always paying attention to avoid this cooperative kidnapping that happened with us in the European Union, and trying, like what we're doing today, to flourish and to give voice to the different movements that defend water. And those struggles continue to have all the sense in Europe, because as you asked, when you ask what are the new dangers or what happens after this confrontation to privatization, so what we see is that there are new water lobbies that are not only WES and other bigger corporations, but we also have Microsoft, we have technological companies who participate, like Water Europe, other lobbies that are trying to protect their interests that have to do with water, knowing that their productive activities need water, and the energy corporations as well are doing that. So we are facing the discourse of the European Union that will be taken to the conference, because what we've seen in some declarations, some statements, so we see that there are some interests of agribusiness interests, energetic interests, so that want to be there, that want to assure the water. And we as a movement, our main objective is to put the communitarian interest in the center, the water as a human right. And in order to close, as a demonstration of this solidarity network that goes beyond the borders of the European Union, today in our network we have strong struggles against the mining industry, for example, in Bosnia and Serbia, the peripheries of the continent that are trying to get into the European Union with some conditions of privatization that obliges them to have green energy. And their idea is then to create many companies that actually will benefit Asian banks and will destroy communities. So we are defending those communities, and I believe that this is the main significant struggle that we have in our continent right today. Very well. I had some difficulties because I had technical difficulties because I had an electricity cut here in my region. Nevertheless, I think that with this participation, we can have a last round to close. And as you might have heard, I think that it is possible to have some conclusions within a short intervention that each one of us can have. Because its conservation has actually contributed a lot to the conference in New York, and what we're actually doing here today with the Blue February and with this preparation, which means to institute ourselves as being the forum of people for the water. Let's continue with the same order. Matilde, please, a last message for people that are following us in this conversation. From Colombia, please. Yeah, I'll pass you the floor. So we had more than 200 organizations with different confederations and associations. We, the people that work with water and the communitarian waters, because there have been right now a differentiation between public waters and communitarian waters. And in Colombia, for example, 0.95 of the communitarian services belong to this communitarian services, and it is quite a lot if we take into account the whole picture. So this is extremely important to call for solidarity, not only nationally, but internationally, to strengthen our union and our solidarity together, all those participations to assure a better future for our experiences. and have public management in order to progress to the non-privatization of the common assets that are life.
Muchas gracias, Matilde.
Thank you
Bueno,
very much,
entonces,
Matilde.
un
So, Ami,
mensaje,
please, just a
una
message,
conclusión.
a conclusion.
Yeah, hearing from all of the speakers, I just realized that our experience here in the Philippines is very small compared to all of your experiences, and it seems that our movement here, water movement here in the Philippines, is also very small. So really, we need to organize water movement here in the Philippines so that access to waters will be the poor will have access to water. And for our experience organizing a community water service cooperatives, it is a good organization for the management of water for the community compared to the private small private water management, because in a cooperative the members have their voice and their decisions are heard, and there's transparency compared to a private management group. So we hope that the Philippines will have partnership with international groups for the right to water movement. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Ami. Y ahora, Armelle, unas últimas palabras desde esa significativa experiencia que significa París.
I would like to say that association of citizens is essential to stimulate the service and to be sure to maintain transparency and user interest. It was a real power in the remunicipalization of Paris and the decision. And the second idea for me, I didn't say that, is that employees have to be convinced of that. And it's really necessary to implicate them, employees of the service, of course, to put them in contact of users and to make them ambassadors of the system, because they are also users. And the last idea for me is that we have to work on long term. Why? To guarantee the permanence of the public service, transparency, responsibility, and to explain people the goals, because they have to choose, for example, between the level of quality for water and other quality as private company propose now, because it's money, of course. And for that, they need to be formed, but with free will. And what is important is to keep free will for population. Thank you.
Javier, no se te oye. Javier, no se te oye.
Javier, we cannot
Braulio.
hear you.
Ahora.
Ahora sí, no, ese tenía
Braulio.
siempre. Braulio, entonces ya también un mensaje desde
Okay, now a message from Cataluña and from those articulated operators. It was a pleasure to listen to the words like fraternity and solidarity. Yeah, that's the path that we have to follow. Collaboration. We are collaborating with different companies that are starting now, public companies that want to know, that want to get informed. We have open doors for them, And we will be continuing this on one hand. On the other, the quality of the services of the public companies can be higher than the private ones. We are an example. We have 94% in the network. It is the best productivity in all the network. And we also have private companies that has more million users than we have, but we're better. We are being 35,000 inhabitants. We have a tariff that is almost half than the private sector. So you can manage with a reasonable price. And apart from that, you can have a better service. Of course, you need time, you need to insist on that. That's why we have associations and we have companies like ours to be able to collaborate with all of you on a world level. It has been very enriching to listen to all you. And I've learned a lot. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. And now again, let's go to the communities in Switzerland and this significant cooperative experience in Switzerland itself. And with other people in the world. Thank you very much.
I have learned a lot from the countries, the brothers and sisters, the different regions. And for me, if all of us can participate in order to improve the access of water to all, then we should share this message with our institutions that we are all connected. It seems to be very important, the participation, the citizens' participation, and in our context of Switzerland, a northern country, to value the initiatives and efforts of the peoples, and that we shouldn't think that we have the wisdom, that we are the wise ones. We must be the defenders of the initiative of the other countries. This seems to be very important to me, and what we can contribute with is to give solidarity to these initiatives in such different regions of the world, and that we can build a stable network with solidarity to attain the goals of water, access of water to all until 2030. Now, before we close, we are going to finish with a water drop, this rich conversation from the movement. Please tell us what is your last words about this experience we exchanged with the defenders of water. Well, recalling what Armelle was saying, what's necessary is to guarantee the free and efficient participation. And what we have been doing for years in defending water is to try and that we are acknowledged or recognized as the defenders of water, and not dealing with private rights. Here in Catalonia, the Association of Public Defenders of Water is a public thing, and this allows us to establish scenarios of community collaboration, and what we're going to establish is a milestone. So wherever we have an interest for this water and for the community, this is where we want to be. We should go to the public management and democratic and community management of the water. We should try to build these partnerships and share them among the movements. This is what we have been trying to do for years. and this is our duty to try and manage the water so we can be subjects and actors of this. And when we created, when in Paris they created the Observatory of Water, when in Catalonia they created the Observatory too, it goes through the municipalization of the public water, and we are included as actors so we can have an opinion about the tariff, so that all the different populations that have difficulty to pay for the water can have access to it. And this is the movement that will push this forward. And we have to enter the council of administration of each company to give transparency and to participate in their tariff making. Yes, I believe the water is refreshing the cooperation and fraternity of the movements to defend the water as a common good. Now,
mucho ruido para el cierre.
There's much noise. I can hear you well. What we want to hear is the sound of the clear and transparent water, because we have to be transparent like water. And in the movement, we should always try to be transparent, and besides mobilizing and being in the street, we must be in the proposals. And today what we have seen in this conversation is that we have specific alternatives, very concrete ones, to be concrete in our struggles, to be at the community hands, because it's a common good for the humanity of all living beings. So we are going to be in the conference, and in certain way we're going to replicate what some have done, and this will happen after we talk in the conference. They are very interesting experiences, and we should give continuity to what has been talked about here. And today we were in the field of different alternatives about community management of water, and that's why we want to have a different and new governance of water with the participation of citizens, with a public and community management. Thank you all. It has been a marvelous meeting. It has been wonderful to hear all of you and know that we are working in a very creative manner and we can exchange a lot. Thank you very much.